What's going on, OTR crew? It's your man Chief here. We got the OTR gang here with us today. We got Goat and T. And today's topic was supposed to be on finance, but we had a little chat earlier, and we think we're gonna dwindle it down to more focused on debt. So the main question here will be: is debt good or bad? Now I'll leave that up to y'all. But we're going to go back and forth on this situation. And, yeah. So let's get started. Let's not waste no time.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's see. I got some notes here. Let's see. When people say get out of debt, what comes into mind? So I'm going to ask that question to y'all since I got y'all here. When people say get out of debt, what usually comes to mind?
That they're getting out of a muddy situation.
Yeah, like personal?
Yeah, for sure. Or it could be like business stuff. It could be either way.
I think generally, usually when I hear people talking about getting out of debt, they just have so much of debt that they're struggling to pay bills, they're struggling to do this and that. They're seeing these big numbers and they're worried that, they don't know if they're going to be able to climb out of it or what.
Basically, they're drowning in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I put down was what usually comes to mind is their credit card debt or their student loans, like what we mentioned last episode.
Right.
Or like T said, negative shopping and personal debt as well.
Yeah.
So thing is your idea of debt good or bad? So in your mind, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it always depends on the person because everybody can't always handle debt. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, don't get into debt. Debt is a bad thing. Cut up all your credit cards, stuff like that. But then there's people that say, well, you can use debt to gain financial freedom, or you can use it to help grow your pockets.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna kind of debate here today.
Yeah.
So. Yes. So like I say here, not all debt is good debt, but debt can be a powerful tool.
Sure can.
Also known as other people's money.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so I like this right here. What is debt?
It is if you look at it, I mean, so you can see debt a whole lot of different ways. In my perspective, when I look at debt, I just see, a negative number that takes away from what your net worth is. So like say, we'll base this off of a millionaire. Say you're a millionaire, you have $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if all your assets add up to be a million, right? But you have, let's say $250,000 in debt. Well, that's $250,000 negative on that 1 million. So now you're not a millionaire.
Right.
Okay.
Really, because it's a negative amount of money versus your net. So.
Okay, I see where you're coming from right there, but so you're talking about your net worth.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not your net worth, like, let's be real here. That's what we do, only the realists. Like we said in the last episode 1, when it comes to debt, most people, they don't even have $500 to their name. So they're just negative a bunch.
Right.
And so, like, I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot.
Dave Ramsey.
We love the guy. He's great. He preaches against debt. And you'll listen to his podcast, and, if you go on his podcast, you'll hear people calling in. And they'll tell him, Dave, man, I'm $800,000 in debt, and he'll break it down, and they have $100,000 in equity on the home, but they're so in debt, they're negative $700,000.
Now the problem with people like that is that those are people that cannot handle the debt that they're in.
Yeah,
that's why they're calling them for help, because they can't. They already done dug themselves that hole. They can't get out.
Yep.
Now they want to, save me. I'm already drowning.
Right.
Ain't no saving.
Yeah.
So what I put down here is debt is usually just a word to most people. Like, if
Right.
you go out to a person on the street, you ask them, what's debt? They're gonna be like, well, debt is usually kind of like you said, it's a negative number.
Or
You
money,
know,
Yeah.
you
money
owe
I
money
just
back
have
to
pay
somebody.
back.
Yeah, you got to pay somebody back.
Yeah.
So, and kind of going off what you said, you were talking about Dave Ramsey. There are many people, financial influencers, who say live debt free and rid of your credit cards, which is a good thing for certain people who can't control their spending. Because if they can't control the money that they're spending already without their credit cards, then how are they going to be able to handle a credit card?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you working your job and you already spending all your work money, so then you're
Right.
gonna go out and get a credit card,
Right.
and then you're gonna spend all that too, and now you really ain't got no money, and you in debt.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And it's kind of hard for new people to get like brand new credit cards because if they can't go back and look and see that you owe people money or that you paid it back or whatnot, they're not gonna ever give you a credit card. I
Yeah.
mean, and you have to build it or see they have to see that you are in debt already to be able to get a credit card. It took me forever to get one. And I just got my first one like a year ago.
Yeah, me too. About a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
but
you talking about your track record though.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
See
your
proof.
your credit score.
Yeah, your
Oh
credit
man,
score.
our
Yeah.
America's lifeline.
Yeah.
Let's get it straight, y'all.
Yeah,
The credit score.
that's what I'm saying. So there's good debt and bad debt, but the worst debt is your student loan debt, which was we were talking about student loans last episode. But if you're a company that's in trouble, you could just file for bankruptcy. And if you file for bankruptcy, all that debt and all that stuff will go away because you filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So the definition of debt, the textbook definition of debt, is that it is an amount that is owed to a person or an organization for funds borrowed and is to be repaid generally with interest.
Interest sucks.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Not fun.
That's why you got to be careful. Like getting them credit cards, you want to check that interest rate.
Oh man, and most of them, see, they hide it too. Like these credit card companies are just gonna come and like on the page of the advertisement, it's not gonna say 26% interest.
Yeah, they're not
But
gonna lay it out.
It'd
They
be like,
will-
6% just for about 6 months.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, or they'll just put 0% interest in the fine lines. If you read down and you flip a couple pages back, you'll see 0% interest until you miss one payment, and then every single dime after that is 26% interest. Which, you guys know what taxes are, right? Everybody knows what taxes are. You
Definitely.
work, you get taxed. So to put this in perspective, your average tax is going to be like 22%. So you're paying more on that debt than you are in taxes to the government.
Yeah.
And that hurts, that stings. Like, whoa,
And there's a lot of tax too. They tax your check. Then whatever you go out and spend the money on, they taxing that too.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Then you gotta file your taxes.
That's
They'll
just something.
tax you
Yeah,
on
that's just
anything
something.
they can.
Yeah, that something to think about there. 26% interest, and that's like the average credit card interest rate. So
Yeah. So let's get into student loan debt that I mentioned earlier. So student loan debt is one of the most important things you need to decide before going to college. One of the most important things you need to decide before going to college. So basically what that means is like, okay, you can decide, yeah, I'm going to go to college, but you got to think about, okay, is this debt worth me going to college for? Is me going to college worth me having to pay all this back? Because if not, I mean, you got to ask yourself these two questions. One, are you going to graduate? Because if you're not going to graduate, you're going to go to college and drop out. You still got to pay all that money back. So it's a
Yeah.
waste of time, and you're $40,000 in debt.
And we got in this last episode too. Like, if you listened and tuned in on episode 1, we talked about, we kind of hit on the same thing there. It's like, most of these kids, they're going to college, and our age really, most people our age are in college right now, and they're getting a degree that 1, they'll never use. 2, the school is like selling this degree, and it has nothing to do with the real world
At all.
They've got stupid degrees now. And I found this out recently, actually. Since last episode, I was chatting with somebody about this whole college versus, trades thing. And they literally sell, like, stupid degrees that you can't use for anything. So it's like,
And then make things worse is our generation, we're getting so advanced that it's not even I mean, it is the useless degrees, but now we got AI coming in, and they're taking jobs too.
Yep.
So you're gonna get a degree in a department that's taken over by AI. They don't even need you.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So the second question you gotta ask yourself, which we was just talking about, is what are you gonna graduate as?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not gonna go be a doctor or something, or I mean, people need lawyers, but there's not that high of a need. I mean, I looked into it. There's not that high of a demand for lawyers right now because
Yeah.
there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you got to think you can't go for an accounting degree because they got AI for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all
they do now.
computers.
Yep.
They just type all the numbers in and that's that. They
And
don't
that's
even need people
that's
there.
one of the things that, as well, that we didn't touch on last week much is, a lot of these college degrees are behind a desk job on a computer.
Mhm.
These are jobs that AIs can just have.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing, to add to last episode, when it's trades versus college, are they going to have robots doing trade work?
No.
Eventually, maybe.
Eventually, but the computer stuff.
The computer stuff,
taken over.
yeah, that's over with already. So, I have a bullet point here that I want to hit on, because, this debt thing in America is serious, and a lot of people don't realize how serious it is. So, credit cards, right? This is The Lending Tree by Matt Scholes. So, if you want to go fact check me, go ahead. American credit card debt. You guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
I don't
ready.
think you're ready because I'm not even ready. I read this and I wrote it down. I'm still not ready. So, American credit card debt. Now, this is all of Americans put together. The total amount of credit card debt they have: $1.13 trillion.
$1 trillion. Holy
Now
cow.
that's with a T, y'all. That's not with a B. That's not with an M. That is with a T.
Oh man.
Trillion. 1 trillion is 1,000 billions. So, Americans are all like, oh, yeah, well, I want to be a millionaire. Like, you got $1.13 trillion stocked up into credit cards. So,
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's America.
Sadly.
It's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard to, talk about something like that and have something to say because that fact right there it hurts so bad to know, So it's just
But
one of those things.
Do you know how big of a percentage that really is out of America's full debt? Because I don't know how many.
You're talking about
we
the
are in
country.
debt. Yeah, the country's debt.
So point number 2.
Yeah.
That leads me into point number 2. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. America as a country. Now you can fact check me on this, but I believe it's around 23 to 24 trillion. Okay.
Damn.
Now that's a country. Let's remember that. That's a country. That's not all the people accumulated together. That is the country by itself.
Right.
What the USA is in debt. Now, when it comes to Americans, you guys ready? Ready for this fact? Okay, here it goes. So let's remember, 23 to 24 trillion dollars is the USA's debt. Americans, the total household debt of quarter 4 2023 is $17.5 trillion. We are almost
That's half of that.
we're almost at the country's amount of debt. So the country, the USA is 23 trillion dollars in debt, and we're rough math, 7 trillion behind it.
So they separated all these debts. They didn't combine them. It's just
So
the country and then the people.
so the people themselves are debt. Americans' debt
Versus
is
government's
way
debt.
different versus the government's debt. Obviously, the government is way more in debt.
Well, yeah, because they just printing it out of thin air every day.
Right.
They're printing it, and then you also got to think about they're buying stuff from other countries, and that debt
Sending
level.
stuff to other countries.
Yeah. So we're not even on. We're not going to get too political here in this episode, but don't worry, trust me,
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. So.
It's coming.
Oh yeah. So and that leads me to bullet point number 3, I guess. Which, by the way, this is by Fool.com. That is FOOL.com, and this is by Jack Capral. So if you want to go fact check any of these, just go on that website. You'll find every single one of these facts on there. But I'm just going to go ahead and touch on the fact right here. Americans' debt, the average American debt. Now this is per person. Okay, this isn't household. So household debt total household debt in America, 17.5 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
This is the average
For one person.
American debt per person in America is $104,000
That's insane.
$100,000 in debt?
per person. So
Not I.
and like
I ain't in that.
when
I ain't either,
yeah,
thank God.
and so like when I first read this fact, my brain didn't even think about it. I just put average household debt.
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking there's, that sounds about right. Average household debt, 104,000. Wrong. Average personal debt
Right.
is 104. I mean, what is going on?
Now, can that person pay it back? Because $100,000 really isn't that much, but it is if you can't handle it.
It just depends on how well you are at budgeting and saving and all that. It all goes into it. It really does.
You can pay it back.
You can.
$104,000. You can
Yeah.
pay that back. Now, you keep leading me into these points, man. What are you doing here? So I'm gonna skip down. This is by USA.com, and the writers are. Oh dear, if I butcher these names, please guys, don't come after me. Mehdi Punjwani, Bryce Colburn, and Sierra Campbell. So that's the writers. Sorry, these names are not easy, guys. Give me a break, okay?
That last one was Sierra Campbell.
Yeah. So
Are these the sources?
yes,
Okay.
yes, and this is on USA.com. So the national average income for Q4 2023, $59,384,000.
Okay. Is that per household?
That's
What is that
that's average income per person.
Oh, average income. is
Average
how
household income. This is where it gets weird, right? So if the average personal income for 2023 Q4 was $59,384, tell me why the average household income. Now this is household, individual $59,384. Household income, the average is $74,755.
And that's more than what the average person's debt is.
No, it's less.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
So
less.
I mean, and it's less than the average person, but that's a household. So like you're thinking a household is less than an average person's debt. People are spending more and living more above their means when they're making only that much.
Right.
And when I found this out, the first thought was, dude, I should have looked this up for last week because we had episode 1, college versus trades, and these kids are thinking they're going to get out making $104,000, which is well above the average person or personal income. So and that's just another little fact in there that I want to throw in.
Okay. So basically, we can all agree that debt is a liability.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a burden.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're losing in almost every situation when you have debt. You're
Has
Not
interest.
necessarily.
well. So
It depends on how you're using it.
that's what I'm saying. So in almost every situation that you have debt. So like me and you, our brains don't think the same way as most of these people do. Most of these people, Americans, are thinking, I'm going to get a new car. I'm
Right.
going to buy my house.
Yep.
I'm going to go to college. I'm going to have some personal loans.
Mm-hmm.
Got some credit cards. I need some credit cards. I'm going to go ahead and single that area out. I know where you're coming from, though.
Right.
You're coming from you can buy a sixplex and go into debt for
Kind
it.
of, sort of. Yeah.
Right? So go ahead and you tell me
I'm
about that.
gonna go off of what you said. So people usually go off and buy their house, and they be like, "Well, my house is an asset, right? My house isn't a liability. I live here. It's the roof over my head, and blah blah blah." But is it really? It's not. It's a liability. Why is it a liability? Because you gotta pay it. It's taking money out of your pocket every single month.
Right.
Well, no matter how big or small your house is, it's
That's
a
a fair
liability.
point. Like light bills, water bills, etc.
It's taking money out of your pocket. It's not putting money in your pocket, so it's a liability.
Right.
As well as your car.
So
Right.
you definitely cars are always a liability.
Yeah.
Now I personally am gonna have to disagree with the house quote. I agree that house don't exactly they don't I'm not gonna say they don't make you money because
Let me ask
over
you
time.
this. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What's the difference between an asset and a liability?
Well, liability is something that's going to go down in value over time. You're going to lose money on it, like debt. You're not just spending someone else's money and paying that amount back. Generally, you're spending somebody else's money and paying more than that amount back
Are
because
you
of
telling
interest.
me what a liability is, or are you telling me about
That's a liability.
a liability?
So and I mean cars. There's plenty of things that are liabilities in today's day and age. TVs, stuff that you don't really, even stuff you need, like vehicles. You need vehicles,
Okay.
but it's still a liability because you could wreck it. You have to pay insurance on it. You got to make payments on it, stuff like that.
Mhm.
While it can make you money, it goes down in value over time. An asset, when I think of a house as an asset, I'm thinking, okay, you do have a mortgage, and you definitely have interest on that mortgage.
Mhm.
You have to pay that every month.
Maintenance.
I will not disagree. Maintenance, electrical bill, water bill. These are things that you're going to have to pay, but these are also things that people that are renting have to pay. So here's where I come into play that a house is an asset is by thinking of, well, 10 years from now, and we've seen this over the past millennium, 100 years, it's done the same thing. The houses go up. They might drop for a couple years, but they go up over time.
Okay, so I see where you're coming from, but you got to think 50 years, 100 years, anything could happen.
It's true.
Anything can happen. That house could get run down in 50 years, and it might not be worth. You might have bought it for $250,000, but 50 years from now, it might have got hit by a tornado, anything, and now it's only worth $50,000.
Right.
100.
Yeah.
It's probably not gonna get that low, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
I do see that point.
Assets and liabilities is a lot simpler than what you think. An asset is something that makes you money. An asset is something that's put money in your pocket, it pays you. Your job is a debatable asset because you're working for money. You're trading your time for money.
Yeah.
But assets is something that puts money in your pocket. And
I
a
agree.
liability is the exact opposite. A liability is taking money from you, like your car payment, your rent payment, your mortgage, all
Right.
that stuff. That's liability because it's not making you any money. You got to pay that out every month. If not, they're going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the definitions are a lot simpler. But, and actually I put that right here. Most people work a job just to be able to pay for the liabilities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they work. I mean, my mother, she works day and night, and she pays her rent every single month, plus the bills, plus her car, and she barely has anything left over after that.
Yeah.
Working to pay your liabilities, man.
Yep.
But that ain't the way to live.
Right.
That's
But
how they
that's-
want you to think you have to.
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
That's how
That's-
they brainwashed us from kids.
That's what they push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the way to live.
Well, I mean-
That's paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you look at the numbers, like that 17.5 trillion, which is total household debt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how great is that for America, like the country America?
Right.
They're making money off of that.
Of course they
All
are.
that
The
interest.
government is making money off
Ooh,
of
Oh my
that.
let's just say it's
Yeah.
an average of 10% interest.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Like, I don't know, $1.7 trillion would be interest off of all that if
Yeah.
they paid it back.
You want to know why they don't teach stuff like this in school?
Right.
Because they want you to think debt is a good thing.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's a mouse
Oh, yeah.
trap.
Yeah,
That's why they call
Oh,
it
for sure.
the rat race.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That makes a lot of
It's the
sense.
same
Oh, yeah.
circle over and over. Go to work, pay your bills. Go to work, pay your bills.
Yep.
Survive off whatever pennies you got left. So, simple. Good debt also helps put money in your pocket, such as real estate.
Yeah.
Good debt equals cash flow.
Yep.
Now, those are the two words I'm going to start focusing a little more on, cash flow.
Okay.
That goes into debt.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm going to talk about how bad debt takes your money from you. So many successful businessmen use good debt to become wealthy and to grow their companies. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would definitely say if we just name drop some people. Sorry,
Like-
DJ Donald Trump.
Yeah, DJ. Yeah.
Uh,
You know he calls himself the king of debt?
yeah, and I mean, dude's worth I think 13 billion now, and he's a billionaire. There's no doubt to it, and he used debt to his advantage, and he has used that debt, like I said, to his advantage to get buildings like New York. Dude owns a lot of buildings in New York. He owns buildings in Chicago. In these cities, he owns buildings and he makes tons of money off of them, which has derived his $1 billion net worth.
Yeah, like Trump Tower.
Exactly.
He probably spent a lot of money on that tower. I don't know how much, but I know he spent a lot.
You're not
but I
kidding.
also know that it's an asset for him.
Oh yeah.
Because he rents out all those floors and all those offices to everybody and makes probably more than he's paying for that thing.
Let's just say this: the people that rent those condos and those big buildings and whatnot are probably paying more per year for that than you make in a year.
Yeah.
We'll just put it that way.
Simply put. Yeah. So most people our age think debt is horrible when really you can use it to generate income. The reason for this is because their debt takes away from their pockets. And then they say, well, I work a job, but they're still working for it. They're working for, like we mentioned earlier, they're working for the liabilities all day, every day. So if you use debt, if you use it, you have got to be smart about it.
Yeah.
You got to be smarter than the person that says, well, I work a job so I can afford all these liabilities. You got to be smarter than them.
Yeah.
Like, and we kind of touched on it earlier as well. Real estate is an asset. Owning a bunch of houses and condos and apartments, those are assets.
Right.
But you know what turns them into liabilities?
Mm.
When ain't nobody living there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
If ain't nobody living there, who got to pay for that?
Yeah. And that kind of has to go with debts. Like on my side of things, there is a good debt. And I know, I'm sorry, Dave, if you ever hear this one day, don't crucify me for this, okay? But, I think there is such a thing as good debt. And I think, let's just talk about the average mortgage. So most people can understand this. When you buy a house, you take a loan out for that house and you pay on that house. Well, the debt you're talking about is similar, except you have people that live in that house that pay you more than what your mortgage is. So that monthly cost then is generated by somebody living in that house, right?
Right.
So when nobody's living in there, it stings because now you have to front that
Cover
bill and cover that amount that nobody's paying for now.
Right.
Now this is where Dave's idea comes in, and I think his idea can be good in this aspect as well as debt can be good in that aspect. Dave Ramsey, he pays for his condos and houses and all his real estate cash. So when you think about it, when nobody's paying him, lights aren't on, water's not on, he doesn't have to pay anything other than maybe property tax for the year or whatever. So he's not so stressed on getting another client in there to live in that house.
Yeah.
But then
the problem with that will be he won't be making no money.
Right. And so it's a slower process to pay for that kind of stuff cash. You have to save for a really long time. Debt is a quicker way to get into that. You feel more pressure. So there's good sides to both,
Yeah.
You feel less pressure. You might not be making money, but you don't feel pressure to get somebody in there versus the debt way versus the non-debt way where it's like, you're not making any money, but, you're not having to pay or front the rent or the mortgage or anything like that. So I see both sides very clearly in this aspect.
So let me jump back in there real quick. So basically, it's all up to the person if he or she wants to take on debt or not. What it really comes down to, if you decide to manage debt, you have to have some kind of financial knowledge. You gotta have to know how to handle your finances.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not gonna know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And saving money is a good thing when you're trying to get started. But trying to save $50,000 or $100,000 is going to take a long time, especially if you're just working a job.
Yeah.
And then you got to think, we already have inflation going through the roof. I looked at stocks. What was the stock I looked at earlier this morning? It was the US dollar, and it was hold on, let me check real quick so I
Go
don't
ahead.
mention the wrong
Yeah.
one.
So while he's checking that, I'll go ahead and, since we're on kind of the real estate, this is by Fool.com, same one by Jack Caporal. Sorry if I'm name butchering, guys. I don't mean to, it's just happening. The total mortgage debt quarter four, 2023, $12.252 trillion. So that's $12,252 billion in total mortgage debt. And that is for the quarter four, 2023. Now that is a lot.
Last quarter of last year.
Last quarter of last year.
That was the end of number.
Yeah, and then the average mortgage debt for 2023, the whole year, is $244,498. So that's what, on average, people owe in their house, to put that in perspective.
Now imagine you can't afford it. If you live in paycheck to paycheck trying to afford that, you just stuck.
And here's where it gets crazy. I agree. You do. You get stuck. And so this is to go right along with that point. Dude, you keep just nailing these points. You're like perfect leading me into these. Let me tell you. So total home equity, revolving debt. So this is what people have in equity versus the $12.252 trillion. They have $360 billion in equity. So if you don't know what equity is and you're listening to this, equity is how much money. So like if you buy a $400,000 house and you pay $200,000 down, you now have $200,000 in debt and you have $200,000 in equity. Really, if you think about it from my scenario,
breaking even.
You're right at the even number. $200,001 would be breaking even. But that's what this is saying. So out of the $12.25 trillion, $360 billion of that is equity. The rest is debt.
Okay. So going back to going back to inflation, the stock that I looked at this morning was the U.S. dollar and the Argentina dollar.
Okay.
And when I went back all the way to 2020, the value of the U.S. dollar and the Argentina dollar was so low. It was so low. And then soon as 2020 to about 2022, it shot straight up. And it hasn't come back down since. So if you're trying to save your money, it could be a good thing while you're getting started, but it might, what's the word I'm thinking of? It might devalue a little bit, depreciate.
Yeah.
It's not going to be worth. I mean, that $50,000 that you were saving for 3 years ago isn't the same $50,000 you were saving for today.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we take history, right? So I saw this poster a while ago, and I think it was 1972, I want to say. But this poster was just saying on it historical facts. Like, for instance, how much a house was back in the day in 1972. And, back in 1972, the average income, so right now the average income is $59,384. The average income in 1972 was $9,697.
Wow.
Just wait, it gets better.
1972?
And that's a year?
In 1972.
Wow.
Per household?
Per person.
Per person?
So, average cost, first class stamp, 0.08 cents. Gallon of gas, 0.36 cents. Dozen of eggs, so a carton of eggs, 0.53, so 53 cents. Movie ticket, $1.70. Gallon of milk, $1.20. A new house, $27,500.
Wow.
You'd be lucky to get a good one for $100,000.
At average house cost nowadays,
Yeah.
$400,000.
I mean, you got to think how much inflation you think that is. That's over
It's
100%.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
like 300-400% inflation.
And so, like, my thing is, inflation it's not new. It's just worse than what it's been.
Right.
It's been a slow, steady growth of
It's
inflation.
as worse as it's ever been.
And now it's as worse as it's ever been. But I mean, as far as like, you go back to 1972 to now, you couldn't feel that climb because everything went up as you went.
Right.
We went from a $9,000 salary to a $59,000 salary. It went up.
And people don't notice because they in the rat race.
Right.
They on the hamster.
Everything went up together. Now it seems as if we're at a baseline of $59,000. Our salaries aren't going up, but everything else is.
Right.
People are seeing it too. I don't know if y'all heard or seen that video about Home Alone, how his grocery bill nowadays is like $70.
Yeah.
And that was in what, the 90s?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
You know,
saying.
so
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
yeah, and you know, I think it's because that 9,000, you know, it was probably like that for like 50 years before that, where the salary was kind of very close to together.
Right.
But from then to now, it's just so much of a difference. It's crazy.
Because we got inflation, and then we don't even have. We're not on the gold standard anymore either. That's mainly why inflation went up so high.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go back to that word that I mentioned earlier, cash flow.
Okay.
I got
Yeah.
this word from my guy Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know who that is.
I got it from his cash flow quadrant. So here it says debt has nothing to do with real estate or cars or student loans, but it has everything to do with cash flow. Now, what is cash flow? Cash flow basically means which way is your money flowing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're working a job and all you have is liabilities, you don't have any assets to your name but your job. That means that all your salary is going straight down to your liabilities, and you pay the liabilities and they send the money to the bank or wherever they do with it.
Yeah.
So but if you have assets, then the money you work from your job, you invest into a liability or debt. And then you invest that debt into an asset, and that asset makes you money.
Right.
Right.
So that's good debt. Now, yeah, and I wrote that here as well. Good debt is when you borrow something and it puts money in your pocket. For example, owning a private jet. You own a private jet, it's beautiful, gorgeous. It gets you from spot A to spot B in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at, but
Yeah.
how much of that thing is costing you?
Right.
Yeah.
That's just like with like nice cars, like right off the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me right into another bullet point, and I'm gonna go ahead.
So, I mean, private jets are nice to look at, but how much is it costing you, right? I mean, you got to think about the fuel. You got to pay the pilot.
Mhm.
If you got somebody up there serving you, you got to pay her.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay on the maintenance of that thing.
Yep.
Now, what happens if you charter it out? Now it's making you money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you still got to pay for the fuel and all that stuff, but the people who charter it, they're really paying for it.
Right. Plus, and then some.
Right. So, yeah, like I said earlier, and they don't even talk about stuff like this in college.
Right.
They don't talk about it in college. They don't talk about it in high school because they don't want you to know it.
They don't
Right.
want you to
They
know.
want you dumb.
And a lot of people, you know, they don't see themselves as ever being able to have a private jet or to be in that position to have to worry about fuel costs and pilots and stuff like
Of course
that.
not.
But that's the way we're taught. The way
Yeah,
we're
well-
trained is to work for people, not have people work for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
When I told people before that I was gonna be a millionaire one day, they all think I'm crazy because
Yeah.
they don't think like that.
But you know what I tell people like that? I be like, yep, I am crazy.
Oh, and I tell
Yeah.
them
Because
that.
like 50 Cent said, I'm crazy enough to believe that what I said was going to happen is going to happen.
Yep.
Right.
And it's going to
I'm
happen.
gonna speak
And-
it into existence.
yeah, and that's, you know, that has a mindset to itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have to have that mindset.
For
A lot of
sure.
people, they don't have that mindset, and it's not their fault. It's just
Oh, it is
their
their
whole
fault.
their whole lives, man. They've been trained to do this and that. We just have that mind where it's like
Okay.
we're open to all
Well, it
possibilities.
it's not their fault though because, or it's not their parents' fault or anything like that. Because
I would agree.
because they're the ones choosing to believe that lie.
Right.
Yeah,
They're the
Yeah.
ones choosing
Yeah.
to think that they can't do something that they want to do.
And follow the masses.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now, like, I'm not going to say I totally disagree with what you said, because when you're a product of your environment and where you grew up, that's definitely going to have an impact on the way you think and the way you
Right.
handle things.
For
and
sure.
we actually have seen that too.
Yeah.
You know?
But when you get older, you can no longer use that as an excuse.
Right.
You now control what you allow into your mind and what you would allow to filter through your brain and body.
Exactly.
I would agree. I would agree.
I definitely, yeah. I've
I
seen
mean-
it, and I know all about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been a child and your parents fed you like shit, but once you hit 18, if you still eat like shit, that's your fault.
That's
Yeah,
totally your fault,
yeah,
right?
that's true. That's a very fair point. So, real quick, I want to hit on these bullet points here. Speaking of liabilities, which, you know, you've led me into these liabilities so much because there's so many liabilities that we have in the U.S.
I mean, anything can be a liability, but
Yeah.
it depends. You can also, there's a lot of things that could be assets as well.
Right. So cars, right? Auto. The vehicles that drive you from work to home to
The grocery
movies,
store.
grocery stores, wherever, you know. Ain't nobody riding a bike to work, okay?
Well,
A
there are
bicycle.
people nowadays because they can't afford
That's
it.
true.
Or
There
they
are
think they can.
there are some people, but for the most part, you know, most every American has a car that gets them from their job to home, right? So total auto loan debt, right? Q4, 2023, $1.607 trillion is how much American people, citizens of America, accumulated have in debt.
Spending on cars.
Spending on cars, yeah. And so let's just look at the average auto loan debt. 2023 for the whole year, $23,792 is the average auto loan debt. And if you think about it, you're like, well, that's not that bad. But it's $23,000 on a liability, you know, because like we established already, cars are liabilities. And I get it, you know, some people, they want that little bit of a nicer car and whatnot, and that's totally understandable. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Average monthly new car payment, Q3, 2023, $726. That's a month that people are spending on their car for a brand new car, which
$2,300.
no, $726.
Oh, $726.
And that is for a $60,000 income. If you break that down, that's $5,000 a month. So you're almost paying a fifth of your monthly income on a car.
Yeah.
So average monthly used car payment in Q3 2023 is $533 a month, which is crazy. What do you think about that?
That is crazy. I actually have my own experience with that. About 2 years ago, I went and got a new car with my dad, and I didn't know anything about debt. Like, I heard of it, but like I didn't know it was bad. I didn't know how bad it could get or how big of a burden it could be. But basically, I found this 2009 Honda Fit at King's Auto Mall, and they were asking $11,000 for it. I paid on it for a whole year.
That's a bad deal, man.
Yeah, listen, I know. I heard all about it when I got to school and told everyone.
T got screwed over.
But anyway, they asked $11,000 for it, and I thought, wow, this is gonna be like the best car I'm ever gonna get. You know, I was 17 years old. You know, I didn't really know, and I didn't know about debt. I didn't know how bad it could be. My boyfriend at the time, now he's my husband, he told me not to get the car, and I was playing it stupid, and I got it anyway. Anyway, a year later, I paid it off early, and I realized that I had paid $4,000 extra in interest. So, my question
You said that
is,
was for a year?
yeah, it was 1 year.
That's
so,
how they get you.
So
Yeah.
my question is to you: why pay more than what it's worth?
Right.
Wow.
I mean, you can look at something to know how much it's worth. I mean, we won't know the exact number, but you'll have a overall overview of how much it probably is worth.
Right.
So, I mean, if you walk up to a bucket, you're going to know, like, that car ain't worth no $50,000.
Right.
It's trying to hustle you.
Yeah.
Be like, well, I buy it for me for about $300, $500. It ain't got no transmission, no engine, no nothing.
And that's
Yeah.
the catch. My car was only worth $5,000, if even. So they truly scammed me, and I totally fell for it. And that's how they'll get people right there.
Yeah.
That's why they call salesmen.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. For
Yeah.
sure. For
That's
sure.
crazy.
But I lived and I learned. I kissed debt goodbye. It's paid off and no longer in debt, thank God.
Yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
I'm getting my experience with it as well. I just bought this 2017 Camaro, and that thing is expensive, man. I mean, it's nice, but hey, cost. You got to pay premium gas, expensive tires, expensive oil change, everything.
Yeah.
It costs.
It sure
But as
does.
long as you can handle your debt and you can handle your finances, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right. I definitely learned a huge lesson from that, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so I got a few fun facts here. Fun fact number 1. 1 in 3 Americans owe more on credit cards than they even have saved in their bank accounts.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, that
That's
doesn't
what I'm
surprise
saying.
That does, and you know what's crazy about that? So like we know that $1.13 trillion is the total American credit card debt, but do you know what the average single American credit card debt is just for one person?
What?
It is $6,501. So, $6,500 per person that has a credit card. That's how much they have on a credit card. Is that not absurd? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's crazy. They're taking on more debt than they're even making.
Right.
I mean, that should automatically in your head tell you that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But they still go ahead and do it anyways.
And
Why?
I mean,
because they just rats in the rat race.
right. And the average person only has about $500 to their name saved up. So when you think about that, they got a lot more on their credit cards than they do at the bank.
It's horrible. I see it all the time. I'm a server, and I'll see people whip out like 5 different credit cards, and they'll try one. It doesn't work because they already done maxed it out. They'll try another. It doesn't work because they max it out. And they're lucky if they find one in their wallet that has money on it, because they'll just let it sit and build interest because they think one day somebody's going to pay it off for them.
Yeah. And
Like, government will lie to you.
They
Just-
do. Because they want you the way they want you.
Exactly.
They don't care about what you want.
Right.
Just like the whole student loan thing.
Oh my
Where they
gosh.
go pay off people's student loans. Let me know how that's working out for you.
Yeah,
the
now
1%.
you want somebody to pay your student loans, you go to the military.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll pay it for you.
Perfect.
So, fun fact number 2, which I already kind of said it earlier because you brought up DJ, is
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump calls himself the king of debt. Fun fact number 3 is that did y'all know that the United States of America was literally built entirely on debt?
I didn't
You know
even
that.
know that.
I
That's
think I
crazy.
knew that. It doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
That is-
Because you got to think about cash, right? What was cash back then? Way back then.
Well, it was
When we didn't have
resources.
cash.
It was resources.
Okay, so let's get a little bit farther. Let's bring it a little more modern. What did they use after they were trading resources?
Well, I mean, when I say resources, I mean like gold.
Yeah.
Like gold and silver.
Yeah, they were trading gold coins.
That
and
was
stuff like
currency
that.
for the longest time.
Yeah, but then after a while, Great Britain, the Queen and the King, they started writing people IOUs.
Oh yeah.
They'll write you a piece of paper here. I owe you $50. So you take this and you can go on over there and spend it on whatever. This just says I owe it to you, and I signed it so they know it's real.
It's like a check, basically, back then.
Yeah.
Right.
But then the problem is that they kept writing them. I owe you, I owe you, I owe you. And then America gets built and they write a big fat I owe you to all these other countries so that they can build their country up and we look as great as we do today. I mean, don't get me wrong, America is the number 1 country in the world, but we got our problems as well.
For
Right.
sure. No.
And I mean, I would say, that begs the question: was it good debt or was it bad debt?
I mean,
Just
yeah.
like the real estate game, they built a country that wound up being one of the most successful countries ever. So was that a
Was it
good
worth it?
debt or was that a bad debt? Was it worth it? You
Yeah.
know, and we'll leave that for you guys to answer.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. We'll leave that for y'all to decide. But yeah, America was built on debt. And that's why we got all these credit cards and stuff like that. So, fact of the matter is, don't be afraid of debt. If you can't handle your finances as they are now, do not get into debt.
Yeah.
Don't get a credit card. Don't do anything stupid like that. Because
Yeah.
you're just going to make things worse for yourself.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yep.
But if you can handle your finances and you know you have enough money to put down on a credit card and you know that you'll be able to pay that card off every month, be my guest and do it. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
especially when you're young, you got nothing to lose.
And you got to build a credit score somehow, because
Yeah.
you got to get a house one day. There's a lot of things that come into it, but it's up to you and how you think you can handle it or not.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you have no credit history, nobody's going to want to mess with you. Nobody's going to want to, like T said, nobody's going to want to give you a house. Nobody's going
Right.
to give you a nice car. You want to get into real estate, nobody's going to want to give you that 4-plex, 6-plex, 54-plex, whatever you want to get. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to want to give it to you because you have no credit history. You haven't proven yourself worthy or responsible enough to pay that money back. So they're not going to want to get into bed with you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's pretty much it, man. It pans it out for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, good debt puts money in your pocket.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So-
Bad debt, it's bad.
Yeah.
it takes money away from you.
Exactly. Takes it right out of
So-
your pocket.
Yeah.
So last question I got here is, can credit cards be good debt?
Now that's a good question right there.
Credit cards.
I really
Not bank loans,
Ooh.
credit cards.
Ooh.
If you pay them off, to me, I think if you can see, that's the thing, because it's temporary.
Mhm.
For me, it is because I pay it off. I know I have that money. I know I'll have that money by the end of the month or even the first 2 weeks.
Right.
So for me, it's a financial thing. I know. I have a budget. I know I can see it. So to me, yeah.
I
For sure.
I would have to say for the 14% of people that actually pay their credit cards off, yeah.
Right, that's
but
true.
for the 86% that don't,
Probably
No.
not.
it's probably, and I think it's actually 12% of people, 12 to 88. So, for me, credit card, I use it for groceries, this, that, and the other, pay it off, and I get fly miles out of it.
Right.
I pay it off, fly miles. I put money on it, pay it off, fly
Okay, so you
miles.
catching free flights.
I'm catching free flights. You know it.
Free flights
Yeah,
and a credit
yeah.
score going
and
up.
so
you know?
I'm getting something out of it rather than losing in interest because no interest. It's paid off every month. I zeroed, not paying the balance. Now you can do that, but I'm talking about zeroing it off, and I get fly miles, so I can fly for free. And I think that in that case, credit cards, sure, they're good, but for the 88% of people that carry a balance, probably not. I would say no, not good.
So what about for you personally?
Well, with the fly miles and everything, I think yeah. I think for me personally, credit cards they're good. I like the idea of them.
As long as you can pay them back. I mean,
Right.
and even then, as long as you can afford the minimum payment. I mean, the minimum payment, it won't make your credit score go up, but it's not going to make it go down as much either.
Right. It's
If
like
you miss that payment.
most of them are like $25 a month.
Yeah.
So
It's really not bad, but go ahead.
I think that the minimum payment, I don't think that's a great thing.
It's not.
I think that if you're gonna get a credit card, pay the balance. At least pay the balance every month, and a little bit over the balance even if you're not gonna zero it. That way you don't get those interest fees.
Right. And I mean, like we said, as long as you can afford it. Only reason I said the minimal was because there's some people that's going to get that credit card and they're going to swipe, and then be
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I can't pay back this $250.
Yep.
And then they'll go on the thing to make the payment and it'll say, well, you can make a minimal payment of $25.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I hear people talk about it all the time. They're like, well, I can pay the minimum, so I have this much amount on my credit card. I have to pay $25.
Yeah.
That's all I got to pay because they
Yeah.
don't think about it. They don't think about it.
Yeah.
But if you pay it off fully every month, now that's good. That's going to make your credit score go way up.
Yeah.
As long as you're paying it on time.
Absolutely. And, just to kind of tee off with some of my little fun facts I looked up, this is RamseySolutions.com, and this is by, Dave Ramsey, the man himself. So, Ramsey Solutions, they conducted the largest survey of millionaires ever with 10,000 participants. So, they conducted a survey with 10,000 millionaires. 8 out of 10 millionaires invested in their company's 401k plans. So, that means that 8,000 out of 10,000 millionaires use their company's 401k plans, which means that they did work just a job. And, it doesn't say this, but I'd be willing to bet that they probably had some real estate,
Mm-hmm.
And, when they say they conducted a search of millionaires, I'm not talking about like 400 million. I'm talking about like if they have a net worth of $1 million.
Right.
And it is $1 million or over $1 million, they're classified as millionaires.
See, now let me cut you off right there, Goat, because you keep saying net worth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, net worth is how much they overall say that you're making.
Mm.
But are you thinking about how much that they're keeping?
Well, I'm thinking when I say net worth, that is every asset compiled into one and every liability taken out of that.
Okay, yeah. So the net worth is assets and liabilities combined.
All of it. And,
Okay.
cash you have, everything put together and taken, and you take the liabilities out of it. That would be like a true net worth.
So how would they really know the true number of that? How would they be able to calculate that exact number, their net worth?
It's hard to say how they would be able to calculate exactly.
Because people make money every day, especially those millionaires. That number's gonna constantly go up and go down and go up and go down. And they'd be like, well, this year is how much their net worth was.
It could never be truly accurate.
Yeah, but it can get close. So like if you want to think
You can
about
ballpark.
Right.
Elon Musk, richest man in the world, which, you know, there's other people like kings and queens that are richer, that have more money, but on Forbes, he's the richest.
Right.
His net worth is like 250 billion. So that's all his assets put together, minus his liabilities. Is it super accurate? Probably not, but it's probably get you in the ballpark.
See, and I'm kind of glad you brought up Elon, because both Elon and Robert, when they were talking with interviewers about their net worth, they laughed. The reason they laughed was because they asked the question that we were just talking about: is how would they know?
Right.
Right.
Because they're making so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They laughed because they don't know. Whoever was
Yeah,
talking,
and
they
then
don't know.
Yeah.
They'll never truly know how much debt a person is in, because that's their debt.
Right.
You have to go into their finances, and
Yeah.
I don't think they have that. I don't think the internet's that good yet.
Yeah, and I mean, unless they're open about it, like
Unless
like
they're
Robert,
Yeah.
he'll tell you he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
$1 billion or something like
Yeah.
that in debt.
He-
And he's
yeah.
he's not ashamed of it. He'll let you know,
Yeah.
But he's making so much money on the return, his ROI, return of investment, it looks good.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, when you die, you're gonna die in some kind of debt, whether it's your house or your car. You're gonna die. You're gonna have some type of debt. Something still needs to get paid off.
I'd have to stop
Well,
you there. and
if
disagree.
you're not rich,
I would say even if you're not rich, you can pay off a house, you can have no payments on cars, money in 401k, money in retirement, and I mean that's another thing we're not thinking about is retirement. If at 30 years old you had nothing, and at 30 years old you started putting $500 a month. Let's take that average used car income. You put that $500 a month into a mutual fund of some sort. You have some money invested for you. At the
Right.
age of 67, with a 10% ROI, return
37
on
years
investment,
later.
37 years later, you're worth $2.4 million.
Okay, that's good. Now that's a good thing to invest in for the long term.
Yeah.
For sure.
37 years.
And now, I know what
Yeah.
you're about to say. You're gonna be old, I like,
You're gonna be an old
you're gonna
man,
be,
boy.
you're gonna be old. That's
They're
for
gonna be able to
sure.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
The kids will.
You're
though, that's for
definitely,
sure.
you're gonna be old. There's no question about that. You will be old.
That's
I mean-
the thing. You got to start young.
Yeah, I mean that's almost Donald Trump's age.
And speaking of starting young, 10 years earlier, right?
Yeah.
Extra 10 years on that, from 20 to 67, 47 years, $500 a month
Mm-hmm.
to at 10% ROI, you're looking at 6.4 million. So you earned an extra 4 million with an extra 10 years. But again, like
Yeah.
you said, you are going to be old.
Yeah.
So that's something
But
to think
it
about.
is a good thing to invest in, because, I mean, big life isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people prefer the down home and the good job and the family and all that stuff. Some people like that. Some people want more. Some people want abundance.
Yeah.
Right.
They want to be able to go here, go there, do this, buy that. They don't want to have to worry about anything like that.
Yep.
But investing in retirement is definitely resourceful.
It's
Yeah.
smart. It's smart for sure
So-
if you can handle it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I mean, if you start all these companies and let's say they fail, you still have your retirement plan going. By the time you retire, like you said, you're gonna have that $6 million or that $2 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a
Just-
good thing to invest in. It's gonna have you some backup cash, a little pillow.
Something for you
For
guys to
sure.
think about. And so, I'm going to try to make this quick. I know we're running long, guys. Just bear with us. We had a lot of good information, good intel for you guys, so just hang in there. So, the top 5 careers for millionaires. Okay? This is out of their study of 10,000 millionaires. The top 5 careers for millionaires include an engineer, accountant, teacher.
I know. I was
Okay.
shocked
I
when
mean,
I
teacher?
searched
A
that up.
teacher, a school teacher, right?
Maybe Ooh, I don't even know about college professors. So.
Like it's like you're just like
It's
a
mind
teacher.
blowing.
What?
Yeah, when I
They only
wrote,
make 50 grand, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
it's because the way they think. Like
Yeah.
they're
savers.
smarter.
They're
Yeah.
savers. That's just. I mean, and they don't live a life of abundance. They drive paid off cars and they
Down home.
You know,
They
yeah.
got the family. and
Just
the
like you were
kids.
saying, you know, that's their lifestyle is that way.
If that's how they want to live, hey.
Right. Management and attorney.
Okay.
Real quick. Notice you don't see doctors in there.
Nope.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked that I saw teachers and not doctors.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's because they do this net worth based on how much money and assets they have,
Mm-hmm.
and they subtract their liabilities.
Right.
Well, first thing doctor does when he gets his job, one, he's already like $500K in debt for his school. Then he go get a bougie house, bougie cars.
I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor.
Bougie
I'm
got
gonna live.
my PhD.
I'm
Right.
gonna live the lifestyle of a doctor. You know.
Right.
And if you listen to Dave Ramsey's podcast, they'll come on there and they'll send in phone calls. Dave, man,
Yeah, I'm stuck, man.
I'm like 1.5 mil in debt, dude. Like, and you know they're looking for that lifeline, help get them out.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, I mean, you also got to think when you become a doctor. I mean, there's not a whole lot of space for growth. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you're a doctor. Yeah, you become a surgeon, but there's not a whole lot of room for growth.
Right. So, one little point. This is my last one, and we'll go ahead and shut her down. 79% of millionaires did not receive any inheritance at all from their parents or other family members. So,
Say that again.
79% of millionaires, they did not receive any inheritance at all from their parents or other family members.
So they were self-made,
Self-made millionaires, 79%,
and that's how you do it right there.
right there.
Right.
You
And
know
so-
why? Because the ones that were handed to it, they don't have any financial education. They don't know how to
Exactly.
handle all that money.
Yep.
Cause why? Because they were just handed it. Handed
Yep.
that silver spoon.
That is sad
Yep.
too, because then they're not going to be able to teach their kids how to do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know,
Hey, I think this was a W podcast, man. W episode 2.
I would agree.
It was real
For
good.
sure.
What
I
you
would
think,
agree.
Goat T?
It was good.
W.
I think it was good. I know it was long, guys, and
Oh, it wasn't that long.
it wasn't. It wasn't. A lot of these, you know, a lot of people listen like Joe Rogan, which is like 2 hours and 40 minutes on average. So,
Yeah, fresh and fit. They run
Yeah.
about the same.
yeah, thank you for hanging in there
Oh, yeah.
and listening in, guys. It really wasn't that long. There's so much great intel that we bring, and we like to keep it real with you guys. It's in the name.
Only the
I'll say it
realists.
every time. Only the realists.
Only the
OTR.
realists, yeah.
So we always can keep it real with you guys. Stay away from HELOCs and leases. None of those are good. If you don't know what that is, look it up. We you know, I don't want to push time here, but yeah, thank you guys for joining on this amazing episode 2. Next week is going to be very exciting for me, especially. I saw that the government has now added to gun control stupid laws. So we're going to be talking about guns next week.
I'm getting ready to start getting some too.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a gun podcast next week, episode 3. Stay tuned.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, and leave a like and comment. I want to know what y'all got to say. And I want
Yes.
to know what y'all want to hear us talk about.
Yeah, we didn't see a whole lot of comments on last episode, so please send your comments in and let us know if you want us to do certain videos. We'll queue it up.
Yeah, and leave us a like. I mean, if you don't like it, leave a dislike. I just want to see y'all saying something. I want to get some what's the word I'm thinking of? I want to be able to conversate with y'all.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we accept the hate. If
Yeah.
y'all want to hate on us, go ahead.
Yeah, I love the hate. Let's interact though.
Yeah,
For sure. But we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
absolutely. We post on Tuesday nights. I know for a lot of you guys, it's easy for Wednesday morning drive. You got to drive to work. You can tune in on us and
Oh yeah.
bring the
Listen
facts
us
to
while
your
you
work.
working.
Yeah,
Listen
yeah,
to us while you working.
yeah, man. Bring the facts to all your coworkers. Let them know.
Oh yeah, man. Well, till then, OTR out.
Peace.